Everyone, Steve from the Audiophiles. Thank you for this special episode. I've got a wonderful guest, Michael Fremer, today. We're going to discuss the big debate in the vinyl community about, I guess, the transparency of not only Mobile Fidelity, but all of the different labels and the transparency of their mastering chain, or maybe in the lack of transparency, and all the, I guess, the rumors in the vinyl community with regards to Mobile Fidelity and if they're using a DSD file or if they're cutting from tape. So I think everyone will be really curious to hear Michael's thoughts on, especially his thoughts on the latest Thriller album that MOFI is going to be releasing this fall. It was a fabulous conversation. I think you'll really enjoy it. And we did it here, of course, at the Hi-Fi Center in downtown Vancouver. If you want some of the best equipment, as you can see behind me, check us out. Hi-Fi Center in Gastown. Amazing stuff here. If you're visiting Vancouver, come by and have a look. So let's get to Michael Fremer. A talk with Michael Fremer, only in the Audiophiles. Hope you enjoy it. Michael, thank you so much for joining my YouTube channel, The Audiophiles. I really appreciate it. I've been a big fan of yours for many years. Thank you for doing this. How are you doing?
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure. I'm doing great. I'm having a great time right now. Starting from over again. I was going to say starting from scratch, but I don't like to use the word scratch with anything to do with records or vinyl. So starting over again. Let's just put it that way.
And so how's that been going?
What's that?
How's that been going?
It's going great. You know, I was at my previous endeavor, which that's how I describe it now, because when I left, they didn't say that I'm leaving for trackingangle.com. They just wished me well in my future endeavors, which I guess is pretty standard, you know, when you quit where you are. And so I just referred to where I was as my previous endeavor. And the site is being built right now, and it's a bespoke site. It's not like a template, not like WordPress or one of these other things that you can download. So it's going to look really good. It's going to be a new site, and the ad sales are going great. I don't get involved in that, but the people that are doing that, you know, this is like, I was telling people, this is almost like dying and being around to read your own obituary, because you see how people relate to you when you make a change like this, you know, what they say. And it's been really interesting and good. It's been very, very reassuring to me, the support from within the audio community, the audio manufacturing community, and within the readership has been really, really heartfelt and great. So yeah.
And we can find trackingangle.com on YouTube as well. Where do we subscribe to that?
Yeah, so Tracking Angle YouTube channel is up. You know, my previous endeavor, I'll stop that game. So, you know, Analog Planet was my previous endeavor, and I had 52,000 subscribers to that channel and over 400 videos. And the new channel is Tracking Angle, and it's up, and there are 2,700 subscribers so far in a week, which is not bad for a week. And I'm sure once people find out where I am, that many of them, most of them will probably sign up, and that's very good. And then also trackingangle.com is, at this point, it's a landing page. So if you go there, you'll see a note from me about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and you can subscribe to it so that when it does go live, which will be probably, I think we're going to launch it September 1st or thereabouts. We're not in a rush to start it up now, middle of the summer, and we're not ready to go yet. I want to make sure that it's well populated. You know, I published a magazine called The Tracking Angle for 4 years in the 1990s. Did you know that?
So I did see it on one of your videos, yes.
Yeah, and it's right on the first video. I have it there. And so all of that content, 4 years worth of really good content, is going to be up on the site the day that it launches. And there'll be some new content as well, and some surprises. And so I wanted to launch with a really good backdrop of information for people to go through and enjoy, and to learn the ins and outs of the site when it first launches. So it's good.
So we're talking September launch after the long weekend?
Probably Labor Day.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah,
Well, I'm excited for that. And if you haven't
too.
already, subscribe on the YouTube at Tracking Angle. Some great videos to begin with. So it's really nice, really cool. I'm glad that you're back with a vengeance. That's amazing. So the big news in the vinyl community, if you haven't heard, I guess you've been asleep. I mean, it's the whole, I guess the Mobile Fidelity mastering chain transparency thing that's going on right now. Can you fill us in a little bit about what's been going on lately, or what's been happening?
Well, let's go back like 40 years. Okay. Let's go back.
I was only 10 years old. I don't remember much.
Let's go back to
that's a long time.
How many, what was 1982? 92 to 40, that's 40 years, right?
That was the year that Thriller came out. That was the year that Thriller came out.
That's probably the year that Mobile Fidelity launched the Beatles box set.
Okay.
You know the Beatles box set?
I have it.
Okay. Do you have it handy?
No, I don't.
Okay. So when that came out, the rumors started flying immediately that there's no way that was cut from tape, that had to be cut from some kind of digital file, because EMI would not let the Beatles tapes out of England. And so what must have happened, they said, was somebody brought a Sony F1, which was basically a tape-based, video-based digital recorder, I believe, F1, to England, and digitized all of these recordings, and that's what they cut from. And Mobile Fidelity then and now is kind of a closed loop kind of company, and they don't talk about it, and nobody acknowledged it or disputed it. But if you look at the jackets of those records, it shows a tape, and
yes,
the tape they show is not an EMI tape. It's got white leader in between and it's the same tape for every record. It's the same number of tracks. It's the same tape from every record. And that is not what the boxes look like, because, I was at Abbey Road. I heard Beatles master tapes. I was there for the cutting of the mono box set that I was involved with. And which is kind of funny, because when I see these people on some of these websites getting on my case and calling me names and what do you know? And get your hearing checked. You're an old guy. I forgot more than these people know. So I was there. I know what the tape box looks like. And so what Mobile Fidelity showed as the tape boxes were not the tape boxes. Plus, their version of Magical Mystery Tour has the Capitol electronically reprocessed for stereo side 2, not the stereo mixes that were done later. The stereo mix,
the Horzu mix, is the one that.
Yeah. And the story behind that. But anyway, we can tell that story if you want to know that story. But if you get the MOFI cassette of Magical Mystery Tour, it's got the stereo mixes on it. I mean, it's crazy stuff. But at any rate, so that's when stories started spreading. Well, what's Mobile Fidelity using as their sources? And they never answered that question. Over the years, they've released a lot of great sounding records that I'm sure were cut from tape. And later, there were more rumors spreading, because Sony BMG was not allowing master tapes to be traveling all over the world. And so they did allow them to sterling sound for some point in time. And so the ones that Analog Productions released from tape were cut there, and those were done from master tapes. But the story alleges, and again, there's no factual basis for this stuff, but the story is that MoFi was using one off the masters tape for a lot of their releases that came from Sony BMG. And I wrote about this. This is not something I did not write about. I wrote about it once, but I didn't keep writing about it. Most of the great records from the 50s, 60s, 70s, in the analog era, were not cut from master tapes. They were cut from a production master made from the master tape. So if they are using one off the master, that's an analog tape and it's carefully transcribed, and they say original master recording at the top, I'm okay with that.
I was just about to see, you're fine with that. That's considered original master. You're fine as an audiophile to say that. I'm fine with that cut.
if it's done right, because most of the great records from the back in the day were done from one off the masters, which is a good idea because you don't want to take the original master tape out and start cutting with it too often. But if you do it from that tape, great. You know, Chads are done from that tape, which they were from the original tape, great. That's as good as it gets. If it's one off the master, like a lot of things are done, that's fine too in my book, if it sounds good. That's what I care about.
So you're mentioning you actually got to witness the 2014 mono press or mono cut or the mono remastering.
The Beatles, yeah. So what happened? I reviewed the stereo box set, and
which is digital, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, digital and produced by a committee. So they digitized it at a high resolution, 192 24-bit.
Yeah.
And then the committee got together and they worked on coming up with final files for these things. And it was a 24, 48K, 24-bit file. That was the final master. And so you could get that little Apple USB stick, and that would be the full resolution of the files. And I have that.
Yep.
Some of those early records were good. The later ones, I don't think were so good. And I wrote that way. And I said, you know what? You got the tapes. The tapes are all in great shape. Why not cut from the tapes? Yeah. Are there mistakes on the tapes? Yeah, there's some mistakes. You can hear weird panning, but that is the document. So why not do that? But they chose not to. So when they decided to do the mono box, so one day I got a call from somebody in England, and he goes, is this Michael Fremer? Yes. Pardon my British accent, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you don't like it, too bad.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, this is so and so. I forget his name, at Abbey Road, and we read your review of the stereo box set, and you were not too keen on that. So we're going to do the mono box set, and we're going to do it the way you wanted it done, from the tapes directly, all analog. Would you like to come and hear them being done? It was like, it was a great thing. So I went, and another part of the great story is that in 1969, when I got to Boston to go to law school, I did some exploring the first day, and I walked down to Kenmore Square, and there was a record store on the corner. And I look up and I see a point of purchase cardboard like rack, and I see that there's a row of English import albums. And back in those days, English imports were packaged in a loose fitting plastic jacket. It wasn't like shrink wrap with heat. And I said, oh, it's an English import. And I was already into English import. So I walk up to the top of the stairs, and there was Abbey Road, which was not due out in America for a week or two. Mm-hmm. So I bought a copy. It turns out the person that got those records into the store was named Steve Berkowitz. Do you know who that is? Steve Berkowitz.
It rings a bell.
Yeah, he's in charge of the Miles Davis and Bob Dylan catalog for Sony BMG for all the reissues, and he works with both artists' management. So he's gone far from being a kid. He was a 16-year-old kid working in that store. But as it turned out, that's why that record was there. That's why I got Abbey Road when it first came out. I still have that copy. It's the best sounding copy of Abbey Road I've ever heard. It's been played plenty of times. It's unbelievable. And he was hired to supervise the mono box set. And he is the one who suggested I come over there to watch them do it. So how great is that as a story? It's great. That's amazing. I tell kids, if you're streaming records now, none of that's going to happen to you in 40 years. I mean, that's not going to happen to a lot of people. A lot of people aren't going to go to Abbey Road to hear master tapes, but I was lucky enough.
So the mono box set, how many did they press? Do you have a number? I always wanted to know that.
Don't know the number, but pressing that box set is like turning the water faucet on. And why they stopped it, I don't know. I spoke to the head of Apple, Apple Corps, and he just said it got too expensive to press the box, and they weren't making money on it, or enough money. I said, so raise the price. The demand for Beatles is inelastic. You can raise the price to where it has to be so you make money.
Especially on that box, because I mean, that's probably considered the preeminent box to own. If you want to own the best sounding Beatles albums, that's the 2014 mono. You have to own it.
Yeah, have to. And in most ways, it sounds better than the originals. In a few ways, I don't think it does, but in most ways it does, especially on the bottom end, because the bottom end was attenuated on the originals. They cut the bottom end because they had to, because it wouldn't track on kiddie phonographs. They had, in the UK in the 60s, there were only like 2 or 3 turntables available to kids, 2 or 3 brands. So EMI bought those turntables. They would cut lacquers, they would plate them, they would make a pressing and play it. And if it jumped out of the groove, they called it a kangaroo cut. And then they would attenuate the bottom end or whatever they had to do to make it so it would track.
And stop right there, because the kangaroo cut was pretty, I guess, prevalent with one particular album, Led Zeppelin 2.
Well, that's a whole nother story that's related to the fact that original cut would not track on Ahmet Ertegun's niece's turntable.
Or niece or daughter, yeah, exactly. And so he pulled the whole.
Yeah, he didn't have daughter. It didn't have daughter. So it was. I think it was Nezui's daughter. It's a relative. Yeah. It's a true story. And so so they recalled that record. And that story wasn't known for decades and decades until vinyl came back, and used, dealers were getting in all these unwanted, records and playing them. Whoa, what the heck is going on there?
Yeah.
And looking at, and then because the RL is really tiny on that record, it's a tiny little thing. And that's how that was discovered. And, Bob Ludwig corroborated that to me. And he sent me a picture of his test pressing, which he still has, in a white sleeve.
Yeah.
And I showed that to a friend of mine, and he said, "Tell Bob I'll give him $10,000 for that record." And I said that to Bob, and Bob said, "No, I'm not selling it." So,
I think it's probably worth more than $10,000 at this point.
Oh, I'm sure. Listen, if T-Bone Burnett could sell that Bob Dylan lacquer for $1.5 million.
Okay, but did he sell it, or is that the going price?
It sold for $1.5 million, and I heard it. But what do I know? A Fremer guy, he's old, his ears need checking.
Fremer, well, you got the new hearing aids in for that listing, right? You did better.
Excuse me for being, excuse me for being a little bit defensive, but you know what? When I go on these websites and what people say about me, it pisses me off. I'm human, and I know what I've done, and I know what I can still do, and it annoys me. Sorry, get your hearing checked, man.
So getting back to it, so we're talking talking about the whole vinyl community. We're big news in the vinyl community about Mobile Fidelity and their, I guess, lack of transparency, or just record labels in general. I know that you tweeted something out last Sunday as well with regards to record labels and transparency. Can we go into that a little bit and just go into some of the controversy?
So first of all, what's happening with MoFi is not news.
Okay.
It's been a long time that they have not really been transparent about what's in Sebastopol, where they cut the records. They're not transparent about it. I know some of it, but they should always have been more transparent. I mean, their transparency is they put at the top original master recording or whatever it's along the top. That means they're using an original tape. And when they don't put that across the top, and there's a silver thing across the top, it's the best thing they could get, analog, digital, whatever it is. So that's how they define transparency.
Yep. That's right.
And that's fine with me. And when they did the band second album, the band, there was a question about whether the tape that they had was the original tape. The tape had gotten lost, like a lot of tapes get lost. And they got a tape that has splices in it. And when you have a tape with that many splices in it, it usually is the original master tape. And so they had and I saw a picture of it. They had the tape with the splices. Nonetheless, they didn't put original master on a recording on the top because they weren't sure. So these guys are not mendacious. They're not bad people. They're not trying to pull the wool over people. And me saying that doesn't mean I'm bought off by Mobile Fidelity. I mean, these people that post things like, "Oh, well, Fremer never gives a bad review to any of their stuff because he gets promo records. He's not going to stop the gravy
I hear that
train."
all the time. Apparently, you get every single promo record for free. I'm really jealous.
Everything.
Yeah.
I get everything from everybody. You wouldn't believe it. I buy a lot of records. I don't get everything, and I don't get everything from everybody. But the idea that I would trade my credibility, which is my credibility is my capital. That's what I have. That I would trade that for a record? Are you kidding me? So, you know, I got sent the big George Harrison box, the big one from UME.
The trunk. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not the trunk, the one below the whatever the
Okay.
one. You know, I didn't get a lock of George Harrison's hair. I didn't get, you know, dirt from his gravestone, but I got the big box. And I'm sorry, that wasn't a good sounding reissue. And I wrote that because I'm talking to the readers.
Well, I did a review on the 50th anniversary Harrison box set as well, and definitely I felt the 30th sounded better, and I also compared it to my original, which sounded phenomenal as well. So yeah, I was very disappointed. I think what you mentioned in the box set at the time, they didn't put the mastering engineer's initials on the dead wax, if I'm not mistaken. You mentioned something like that.
I think that one was done at the GZ Media and from files that they sent them. And so that's a whole nother story that we could get into, because I've been to GZ Media and I know how they do that. And there's a video on my old YouTube channel about that too. And Bobby Whitlock, who was in the band, who played on the record, he made did you see the YouTube video he made?
Absolutely destroyed it. He hates it.
Yeah. And then he pulled that down because it was over the top. Even my review wasn't like that. But he was right. And I didn't see his video before I did my review. I did my review and then someone pointed me towards that. It was a mistake. It wasn't good. The Lennon stuff that the same guy did remixed was good. I gave that a good review. I mean, what I preferred, it was all analog probably. Yeah. And if you play the first Plastic Ono album on an original British pressing, if you play the song I Found Out, or Ringo, the original British pressing of that is unbelievably magnificent, and it shows what a great drummer Ringo was, and everything about it's great. And the remix that they did, the remaster, is good. It's not as good as that, but the overall project was really good, and they gave it a good review. Not because they sent it to me, which they did, because it was good.
Well, I mean, if anyone doesn't have the 50th anniversary, don't buy it. I mean, I've been suggesting to people, if they want that, the 30th anniversary is the way to go, because Harrison was actually alive at that time, so he actually was the one that obviously, okayed everything. So I mean, I think that's the one that was different.
I think that was a remix too. That wasn't just. I think that was a remix. I think no, it
wasn't a remix. But Danny Harrison, they redid "My Sweet Lord" on it with a different lead singer, with Danny Harrison on guitar as well. I do believe. I'd have to go back, but it's been a while. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So
I don't have a photographic. I'm sorry.
No, the whole transparency thing. So this has been the big thing. Again, MoFi, we don't know their mastering chain. If they're using a tape, if they're going digital with DSD and then mastering from DSD, we don't know. But I will tell you, I've been a big MoFi fan for years. I've got all their ones except Nebraska's, because I missed the boat on that one. They sound amazing. They do sound amazing. And I don't think until this time, if anyone didn't really know, they wouldn't know if it was a AAA or not. That's how good they are. I mean, they're using great equipment. Well, it sounds amazing. And I mean, wow.
I'll tell you what I think, and they know I think this. Some of them are really good, and some of them I don't think sound so good. So, if you compare, and at this point, I just have to be honest, and this is my opinion. If you compare the one step of Tin Pan Alley, Couldn't Stand the Weather, Stevie Ray Vaughan, versus the Analog Productions one, which was definitely cut from tape by Ryan Smith. There's no doubt about that. That one is much better. It is much better. You know, I had a manufacturer over here, and we compared the two, and I didn't say anything. I said, here, let's play one and play the other, compare levels. When he goes, he has that shot, shot, whatever, I don't remember the exact words. Boom. Well, you jump every time when you hear the analog.
Did you have to? You had to adjust your levels though, doing an A/B, right? The analog versus the MoFi.
I've been doing this for Of course, you can
no, I'm not. I know you have. It just as an audience. Sometimes it's not. You can't just basically leave the volume on just the same. I mean, especially I know the AP version of that sounds is a lot louder cut.
It's not just a hotter cut, but there's a transparency.
It's in your face too.
Yeah, it's just. To me, it's the other one is like, oh, a shot rang out. It's very nice sounding. Look, they do a good job. It's a good job. Whatever the source is, it's a good job, and they're good. But if I had to sit down and compare the two and to say which sounds better to me, I would say the other ones sound better. Someone sent me, because I didn't get a promo, I got it later, but I got a promo of Carole King's Tapestry.
Yeah, I have that one.
And okay, that one's bad. That's bad.
Mhm.
And I listened to it. A reader sent it to me because I didn't have it. And the bass has been boosted to a ridiculous amount. And the one that Chris Bellman cut at 45 RPM about 10 years earlier, to me sounds much better. And I wrote that. And not only did I write it, so it just kills me when people say that I'm on the gravy train, and I'll never say a bad thing about them. Anyway, I posted files. I recorded both and matched the levels.
I saw that, yeah.
And it was 70-30. People preferred the original. And you know, they could say that they didn't boost the bass, that it's on the tape, but I don't buy that. I think what happened is they had to make it sound different than their previous version. But whatever. I just want people to know I'm friends with all these people. I like them all, but I don't mince my words, and I never have, and I never will. I just don't like rumors being spread. And that's what we have right now. We have rumors being spread. I want to know. So they are going to make this video. They're shooting a video now.
So hold on. So let me just ask you. So you talked to MoFi, and this is what they're telling you.
I spoke to MoFi the day when I posted my first Thriller announcement, May 26th, I think it was, when they sent me the press release. And you should know this, the press release, it's online press release. It was not prepared by MoFi. It was prepared by the Michael Jackson estate.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? I was an expert witness in the Quincy Jones versus the estate of Michael Jackson trial. You know,
yes.
So
yes, I knew that.
I've been around. Yeah. And so I sound kind of defensive here, guys. And too bad, because if you were me and you sat and read the crap said about me, you could take one or two things. You could either say, oh, okay, when they go low, I'm going to go high. Yeah, well, no. When they go low, I'm going to go right down in the mud with them and correct them. So at any rate, the day that came out, the press release said, Bernie Grundman remastering from the original master tape for a 40th anniversary Thriller. That was the headline.
I did read that.
And then 5 or 6 paragraphs down, it said, Mobile Fidelity will also be releasing a 40,000 copy one-step vinyl release. So I say to myself, whoa, what does that mean? It means only one of two things. Is Bernie going to cut, well, one of three things. Is Bernie going to send them a digital file that he makes from the master tape because he's got it there? Is Bernie going to make a copy of the master and send them a one off the master to use? Or is Bernie for the first time going to be cutting lacquers for a MoFi? It's one of those three things, because otherwise it doesn't compute. There's no way that they're going to do 40,000 records and run that tape over and over again. Although, every time Bernie cut lacquers, Bernie's cut lacquers over 100 times for Thriller. And every time
he used it 125 times original tape to cut that lacquer during the heyday of the hype of Thriller in the mid 80s.
That's right. And you know that. So you can run a tape a lot of times. It's not going to wear out if you're careful. And a guy like Bernie's careful, and his machine's set up correctly, and his heads have been demagnetized. So you don't have to worry about it's going to start losing, flux, whatever. So it is not even beyond, it's not even beyond consideration that they could have run it 40 times, but nobody knows, and they wouldn't say. So I immediately got a thing from someone at MoFi. Why do you hate us? I said, I don't hate you. I'm speculating based upon facts, and you're not giving. Well, that was not our press release. That was from the Michael Jackson estate. I said, whatever.
So it sounds to me then that Grundman's going to cut a 40th, and so will MoFi. It's probably that's what it sounds like from that press release. I
think the one that's going to be released by the label is going to be from a digital master that Bernie's going to prepare.
Okay.
That's what I think. But we don't know at this point what's going on. Anyway, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
So then, wait, let me finish. So then about an hour later, I start getting messages on my website, my former website. Hey, Fremer, you better pack it in. I just went to that press release and Bernie Grundman's name isn't even on it. You are hallucinating. So I go back to the press release, and guess what? they changed the headline and took Bernie's name off of it. So this is, this is what I'm dealing with. This is a crazy world I live in and you live in. And at any rate, then somebody from MOFI told me something that I promised not to repeat until after Munich, because what they said to me was, we know this is problematic. So here's how this is being done. It's being done blankety, blankety, blank. But I can say with 100% accuracy and clarity that this person, who is a direct source at MOFI, said to me, it's being done from tape, not from a digital source. It's being done from tape, but you can't announce it now. And we'll make an announcement following Munich, which they never did. They never made an announcement after Munich. So I'm saying this now because I'm just fed up with all this nonsense.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you right there. So, I mean, the big news has been we're doing, especially Thriller. You're doing their Michael Jackson impersonation there from Thriller, but especially from Thriller, I mean, 40,000 being pressed on a one step. We know that they can only use the, use the lacquer for 1,000 per, which means it's 40 plus or so going back to the master tape, which is probably impossible because Bernie only used it 125 times throughout the years. So do you think it's a tape or do you think it's a digital file?
No, I was told it's from tape, a copy of the tape.
Okay.
That's what I was told. And I was told not to repeat it. But you know what? I'm tired of, and I have the email, I've got all this. I'm not repeating nonsense. I'm not speculating. I'm not putting a question mark next to it. I'm telling you, I was told, and if they're lying, that's another story. But I was told directly from them in May that they're using a copy of the master tape to cut Thriller, of an analog master tape.
And that would make sense, right? Because I mean, if Sony doesn't want to release the tape, which they're not going to, and they're not going to basically allow it to be sent down to California, that would make sense that they're using a copy of the master. And do you, as an old time audiophile, do you have a problem with that?
As an old time audiophile, well, no, I don't. I just care how good it sounds. And then there are the people on this other website saying, well, it is from digital and it proves that digital is transparent to the source and these analog people are out of their minds. No, you can always hear if it's a digital source. You can hear it. It's gotten really good now, but analog tape has a quality that you can hear and digital has a quality that you can hear, and you can choose whichever you like. You know the label Analog Spark?
I do, absolutely. Good
label. Mark Pirro. Yep. Mark Pirro had that label, produced a lot of great records. I mean, their version of West Side Story, cut by Ryan Smith at Sterling Sound, phenomenal.
And Ryan Smith is an up-and-coming mastering engineer. I'm going to be having on my channel to talk to. So, I mean, this is the next Bernie Grundman of the next generation for sure.
Up and coming. He's already came.
He's a young guy, though. I mean, still.
Yeah,
but I mean,
he's about 50. I think he's about 50. Believe it or not.
Oh, he's about my age. Yeah.
Okay. Are you a young guy?
I told you I'm 50. I feel young.
Okay, you're a young guy. Anyway, he's about 50. He looks good. Looks better than you, actually. But that's all this.
Wow.
I'm just kidding you.
Okay, so you're going on record today to say you got information saying.
But wait, let me go back. Yeah. Let me finish the Mark Pirro story. So Mark puts out all these great analog records because his label is called Analog Spark, and he sends me Nilsson Sings Newman. And I love that record, and I'm looking forward to a great reissue on Analog Spark. So I get it. I open it up. I put it on my turntable. I call him up. Mark, that's a digital file. Damn, you're right. How'd you know? I said, I can hear it. Why a digital file? He said, because the estate of Harry Nilsson wouldn't give us the tape. The best we could do is that file. But I really, as much as I, love analog, I didn't think you'd be able to hear it. I said, hey, I heard it. I hear it. I was only fooled once so far. And it's because I never heard the original. I had nothing to compare it to. So, digital's at a point now where it's really good. But like Avalon, Roxy Music's Avalon just came out as a half speed.
I just got the half speed from Showell last week. I thought it sounded really good.
It sounds great. Mm-hmm. I'm going to review it. I have to do it as a video because I don't have my sights not up.
Damn it! I'm going to review. I'm going to review it too. You're going to beat me to it. I might have to get up in front of you on that one because I have the original Ludwig cut as well from 80. I think that's 82. I think it was 82 or 83. Now the Ludwig one sounds great, but I think with the half-speed mastering, it's obviously you're picking up more of the bass and more of the vocal Ferry's vocals than on the Ludwig cut.
It's clearer. Ludwig's cut is kind of soft on the bottom.
It is soft, absolutely.
You know, it's a digital recording to begin with. You know that.
I did know that because I mean that, but the thing is that was like right at the infancy, right? You got Ry Cooder's "Bop to You Drop," the very first digital recorded and cut album. Right after that, at the same time, it was "Nightfly" by Fagan, and then right away we had Roxy Music. I think it was all the same Sony machines, wasn't the Sony?
No. So the Nightfly and Ry Cooder's "Bop Till You Drop" were both 3M. 3M.
Sorry, 3M. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. 20 people are going to hate me for doing that to you, but I'm in one of these moods. I could have gone, no. Anyway, yeah, it was the 3M machine, which I believe, I could be making a mistake now. I believe it was a 20-bit, it was a 20-bit resolution tape machine. And when Nightfly first came out, I didn't think it sounded terrible because you could immediately hear it was not what I've been hearing for 50 years. It was some totally different thing that I didn't like. Now that I'm more used to it, I can accept it. It's much better. Nightfly does sound good, but it's clearly a digital recording. And "Bop Till You Drop" was the worst thing I ever heard, and I hated it. So I'm getting off topic now.
We were talking Roxy Music. You're going to do the review.
So Roxy Music. Okay, Roxy Music was a Mitsubishi X800, which was another generation of machine, but it was mixed to analog tape. So it was cut from an analog tape. And Miles did a great job with that one. And I can still hear that it's digital, but the bottom end has got the punch, the clarity. No, it's a trade-off in a positive way.
I would tell viewers, if you're a Roxy Music fan, pick up the copy because you're right. The bass really, it punches you. It's very dynamic. And I love the vocals. Ferry's vocals are way more clear on this copy than anyone I've ever listened to.
Yes. Now I've also got a Japanese pressing, and I've got a original British, which is fantastic. And I've got a Bulgarian pressing actually. And truthfully, the Bulgarian pressing is the best. No, I'm just kidding. It's not the best.
I doubt it.
It's not good at all. No, it's not good at all. But the point is, it's gotten to the point now where all these things are trade-offs, and the people that don't like tape, the Planger process fixes problems with analog tape, speed issues, and other issues, and they go, yeah, now when you listen to Bill Evans, You Must Believe in Spring, all of the tremolo on the piano has been fixed, and yes, all the problems have been fixed, but you're still left with a digital file, and if you like that digital file, then it's the best of both worlds, and you'll love it.
Well, I just got the recent Craft recordings, the Bill Evans album that Kevin Gray cut. That wasn't digital though? That was from the analogs.
Analog tape, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You Must Believe in Spring, the double 45.
Yeah, the 45 sounds beautiful.
It's wonderful. I've got the original that Doug Sachs cut as a single record, and it's pretty good too. But the point is, digital's gotten to the point now where it can be very, very good. And it can have its advantages over analog. Half-speed master cutting is best done digitally and not done in the analog domain.
Because you can fix up any blemishes, right? I mean, it's pretty simple. It's right there. You can fix it up, and it's easier.
The tape isn't running at 16 at half speed. It's not running. A 30 IPS tape isn't running at 15, and a 15 isn't running at 7.5. And there are a lot of problems with that. So you're much better off operating from a digital source. And I did like a lot of Miles's early cuts. I didn't like that much. But
so what do you think? What do you think the Miles's Beatles cuts? So all half speed digital, like 50th anniversary Sgt. Pepper. We got White Album. I mean, what do you think?
The remixes, you mean?
Yeah.
The ones that Giles Martin.
Yeah, the Giles Martin remix is that Miles's house.
They're good.
Cut. Yeah, I like them.
They're good. I think they're really good. I like the originals better. But they fixed problems and made certain things better. At the end of Abbey Road, where the three guitarists go left, center, and right, whereas on the original they're all in one place.
All in one place.
George sings, "Here Comes the Sun." He's on the right channel. Why do you want to hear them on the right channel? You want them in the middle. I mean, they fixed all of these problems that relate to technical issues of multi-track recording and running out of tracks in the 60s.
Well, and that's the thing too. I mean, we're going to be coming up on the 60th anniversary of Revolver and Rubber Soul. They were 4-track recordings, right? So I would assume at some point Giles Martin's going to come back and remix those ones, because those sound. I think Revolver is one of the worst sounding Beatles album if you listen to it. I mean, it needs to be cleaned up. Well, I like the sound of it, but I mean, in terms of being cleaned up, I think they can do a little bit more to it.
Do you have an original British pressing?
I have the box set 2014 UK, of course, and I was telling you the story before we started. My very first record was the original. I think it's a Canadian mono pressing, so maybe it was like 4th generation. I'm just joking, but who knows what generation? But it does, again, it sounds good. But I'm just curious to see with the technology today, what Giles Martin can do with Revolver and with Rubber Soul. I think he can really make it a little bit punchier and more dynamic. And I think it deserves that for a 60th anniversary remix. And I really hope that happens.
What I hope for is that they do a stereo box set, cut all analog from the original master tapes, and give you what the original document was. People would want that. And I'm also okay with the remixes. I'm okay with it. It's fine. They're good. But when I go to listen to any of these Beatle albums, for some reason, if I want stereo, I go to my original British pressings, which have this life, the drum sound, the whole thing is just, it's just
especially the UK's. I mean, you really appreciate Ringo's drumming more if you really focus on his drumming. And he's definitely, over the years, he's been so underrated on his timing and everything. And you got to appreciate this guy. I mean, he's a phenomenal drummer. I mean, I'm not a drummer. I mean, I've played instruments, but I mean, this guy was so underrated because you look at the 3 guys that were in front of him. I mean, you're talking an all-star team, right? I mean, this guy, till this day, is probably one of the top drummers to ever come out of, in the world. Has to be.
He invented the fill that you hear on Abbey Road.
That's right.
That every drummer copied for 10, 20 years later than that. Yeah, he's a great drummer. Not a flashy drummer, but
if you listen to his interview, I mean, he feels that Abbey Road was his best sounding for his drums ever. And on any of the albums that they had cut was the Abbey Road. He feels his drumming was absolute at its peak in that entire album. And his only drum solo was in the end. I mean, that's the only drum solo he's ever done for all the years that they cut albums. It's pretty incredible.
Now, have you got an SME-15 or a Synergy there? Which is that?
I don't. I think that's a 15.
Is that a real picture, or is that a?
No, this is all. This is all real, man.
Okay, so you have to know. You have to know what turntable you have.
No, I'm at a company called Hi-Fi Center right now. I do some work with them. So yeah, I've never actually used this room before. So this is one of my sponsors for my YouTube channel. So I'm going to be doing a review on this equipment at some point in the future.
Great room.
I haven't even looked at it. Honestly, I've been in this room once. I use the Macintosh equipment and other stuff as well. So I'm looking at it and going, yeah, I think it is, but I'd have to look. So yeah, that's good.
That's got to be a nice sounding room, because it's really good stuff.
It's very nice, and that's why, I mean, that's the one thing I do all my shootouts here at the shop, because I mean, it's got all the highest tech equipment, and it gives me the best, I guess, the best sounds. I mean, I got a decent equipment set at home, but I mean, nothing like this, because I can't afford, $80,000 speakers that you see in the back here. I mean, that's not reality for me. But I mean, I come here, and man, listening to these audiophile vinyl on this equipment, there's definitely
unlike me. It's unlike me. See, I have a stupidly expensive system because I'm paid off by the manufacturers. How else does Fremer afford that stuff? He's a reviewer. I know what reviewers make. He can't buy.
That's all over Twitter every day. Everything you get is for free.
It's just unbelievable. I own everything I have. I bought it. I got a manufacturer's accommodation price. I got dealer cost. Excuse me. I work in the business. I'm entitled, but I paid for everything. And again, I'm being defensive here because I read some of you people, if you were in the public eye like this, and you know who you are, and then you start reading what people say about you that are lies, you have one or two choices. You can either just sit back and say, well, I know it's not true, and then it spreads, or you can fight back. And I've done stand-up comedy, and I know when I'm in a comedy club and I'm doing stand-up and I get heckled, I have to fight back. That's just in my genes to fight back. So, anyway, that's what I do. Fight back.
I'm just it's been crazy the last week or so with this whole MoFi thing and their mastering change. So I'm going back to Thriller again. I mean, you're on record today saying it's from the tapes.
I'm going on record as telling you what I was told.
Yeah. Okay.
From a direct source.
And you have the email. And you have the email.
Spokesperson, yes, who said this was cut from a copy of the tape, and we are going to announce it right after the Munich show. And I said, can I announce it? No, we're doing it right after the Munich show. And they never did it. And I don't know why, but maybe it's for the same reason that when the rumors started spreading that the Beatles box was from a Sony F1 copy that was made when they took the machine over to Abbey Road, because they wouldn't let the tapes out. The tapes are never allowed out of the
studio,
UK, you know, except they are, because Jeff Emmerich brought the Sgt. Pepper master to America, and I was there. Yes, so I was at I got a call from my friend Greg Calby, the mastering engineer, who some of you know. Oh, he's name dropping now. Boy, he's really obnoxious. And Greg had moved to master disc at that point in time, and Greg said, you know, EMI is considering doing a 30th anniversary of Sgt. Pepper, and we're looking to get the original Studer deck that they have at Abbey Road, you know, the big old one. I think it's a C30, whatever the number is. Do you know where there is one? And I knew where there was one, and I was able to get it for them. I mean, that was really cool. They were very grateful for that. And so my reward was to go to Master Disc and hear the tape with Jeff Emmerich, who was there. And Jeff Emmerich brought the tape over. And just for, can I curse here, or you don't allow cursing?
I don't go to church.
Okay, just for shits and giggles, and that's the worst word I'll use. Just for shits and giggles, I brought the MOFI Sgt. Pepper, and we played it. I played it for Jeff Emmerich, and Jeff Emmerich kind of knows what it sounds like. It's supposed to sound like.
Yeah, I would say so. I hope so.
Yeah, maybe. No, maybe he's old and needs his ears cleaned out, or maybe he has his hearing tested.
Well, he probably has high quality hearing aids at this point, and they're all Bluetooth, you know, probably Bluetooth hearing aids. He's fine.
Well, he's dead. He's dead at this point.
He's dead, yeah.
But I played it for him. We got about 2 minutes in, and he goes, "That's rubbish. Take that off. It's rubbish." He was so incensed by it, and what incensed him was the Smiley EQ curve that was applied. You know,
which is the big thing. MoFi did a lot of that in the early '80s with a lot of their cuts, right?
Right, and I think they did it for the Carole King, and whatever. It's a mistake, and anyway, that's what happened. And then Jeff gave me his phone number, and I called him about maybe I called him about the Elvis Costello record that he did late, whatever it was. I called him. He was living at home with his mother, and it was hilarious. So I called him. I said, "Is Jeff there?" "Jeff, it's a phone call for you." It was like, oh my God. It was a Monty Python sketch. Anyway,
I love
great guy, brilliant engineer. And yeah. So as far as I know, the Thriller is being cut from a copy of the master tape, as far as I know.
Not DSD.
As far as I know, unless somebody fibbed to me. But I don't think they would do that to me.
I mean, how long did you know about? I mean, the half-speed mastering. Did you know, like, MoFi obviously doesn't half-speed master? When did you find out about that?
That's a funny thing. So when they went back into the vinyl business, they've gone back to the vinyl business like 2 times. So I've known Herb Belkin. Have you got the original Steely Dan Katie Lied record? I mean, do you go back that far?
I have it. Yeah.
Does it have the insert showing you what equipment they used?
It does. It fascinates me. I've actually. It's funny. I read it a couple weeks ago. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very quaint. Mm-hmm. So Herb Belkin started the company, and Herb Belkin then left vinyl, and then he came back into vinyl with the Anadisc series, and then he left. Then he died, and then Mobile Fidelity took it over, and they went back into the vinyl business. And those first records were terrible. And, they did another version of, they did some Little Feat records, and these were just sounded underwater. They were just terrible. And those were cut half-speed master, and they said so, and it was. And I wrote that they were terrible. And that's what kills me when people say, "Oh, yeah, I read you like everything. You backtrack now." They weren't good. And at some point, they started sounding much better. And I said, now, you're back on course again. What's going on? And it was because they stopped using half speed, because it's very difficult. Stan Ricker was a genius at half speed cutting. And, you know, Stan Ricker was Miles's mentor. And Miles's hero was Stan Ricker.
Do you know, so what Bernie Grenman told me in the end, that before Stan passed, it was basically 3/4 speed he felt was the best to cut it at, not at half speed. I thought that was a funny story.
Yeah, could be. And there are reasons why it would be better to bump up the bottom end a little bit, not at the cut at 15 hertz, you know.
That's right.
Or 30 or 7.5 hertz, whatever.
Yep.
At any rate, so I'm unloading now and being honest with everything that I know from first-hand sources, because I'm just tired of what I'm reading online. And I think the responsible thing to do is to say what you know as a first-hand source, not spread rumors. And so we're getting a lot of rumors now.
So it's making your hair even grayer then.
My hair is gray because I'm elderly, you know, but I have it. I'm happy to have it, you know.
Like I told you,
I'm in good shape for an old guy. Okay,
the biceps looking pretty good. What do you curling
I can do 3 sets of 20. 3 sets of 20, man. I don't mind standing up. I'm in good shape.
It's looking good.
When I see people saying, you know, I don't like double 45s. You got to get up every 8 minutes. I think
it's good. I tell people this: you save money at a membership. Well, think about it. I mean, you can save money. Yeah.
You need to stand up every 8 minutes.
Double 45 is great because you don't have to get a gym membership. You're saving money because you have to get up every 8 to 10 minutes. It's perfect.
You still need gym membership. You do.
I do. I agree.
You do.
Well, I'm excited about.
I go to the hi-fi show. Listen, I see some of these guys. You can get really old and you can still look great. You know, you can get really old and you can still be sexy. You can. Maybe to only older women, but
is that what Mrs. Fremer tells you?
I won't even say what Mrs. Fremer tells me is when I'm playing music loud and she's working upstairs, she comes down and she goes, I cannot hear myself think upstairs. Please turn it down.
And you guys,
and
so how long have you been married for? I'm curious.
I've been married since 1988.
1988. So, okay. So we're talking, that's a long time. Congratulations there.
I was working for the Absolute Sound. I'll tell you a funny story. I was working for the Absolute Sound at that point in time, and I had just been there 2 years. And Harry had his 20th anniversary. He had a 20th anniversary party, and I hope I can find this picture. Man, it's on my messy desk here someplace, but I probably won't be able to find it because whenever I look for it, I can't find it. Anyway, I was invited to his 20th anniversary party, and so was Larry Archibald, who owned Stereophile, and so was John Atkinson. And I was charged with giving an award to the recording engineer Bill Porter, who you may have heard of, who engineered a lot of Elvis Presley records and engineered all the great Roy Orbison records. Bill was a wonderful man, and
I will note that the Orbison records, I mean, the original ones do sound great.
Oh, are you kidding? The original Roy Orbisons and the Elvises are good. Amazing, because Bill recorded, he was said to record everything from DC to light, you know, every frequency. He didn't cut off anything. At any rate, I was invited to go to this thing, and I was just there for 2 years. And it just so happened that the party fell in the middle of my honeymoon. And Harry said, you have to be there. You have to, I want you to give the award to Bill Porter. I want to get, you have the honor of giving Bill Porter the Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm so upset that I can't find this picture right now. It's here, so I'll find it after we hang up. At any rate, I'm going to keep looking for it. But okay, I can't find it. I give up. At any rate, you have to be there. I said, well, I'm bringing my wife. No women are allowed. So I said that to my wife, and she said, well, if no women are allowed and I can't go, you can't go.
That's fair.
I said, that's fair enough. Why don't you call Harry up and tell him that? So she called Harry up, and she said, if I can't go, my husband's not going. So which will it be? And he said, okay, you can go. So you know what? She got a tuxedo, and she went in drag, and so it was really cool.
That is
hilarious. It was good.
Oh,
and then we got one of Harry's cats, because he had cats, and And then he started calling her Pussy Mama. And I have to say, I wasn't thrilled about that, but whatever. And then he would call her at work, and she worked for some big banks at that point in time. She worked like at Lehman Brothers. And he would call up and say, I want to talk to Pussy Mama.
It's a little creepy.
It's creepy, but he was
So ladies and gentlemen, today we know what Michael's wife's bedroom nickname is, I guess. So there you go. You're really telling us some inside information today, Michael. Thank you for that.
You're so welcome. I don't know why. I think I took sodium pentothal, whatever it is that you take to make you never hold back your words. I think
sodium pentothal would kill you, so I hope it's not that.
Whatever it is, phenobarbital, whatever it is, I'm on it, and I'm going to regret it. I'm going to live to regret this Zoom call, man.
Love it. Well, you know what? We'll leave it at that. I appreciate your time. It's been a wonderful chat with you. I think we've cleared up a lot of things. Like I said, the VetOp community is exploding over this mastering transparency thing. You've cleared up a lot.
So let me just finish with this, because I've laid it all out on the line here from my perspective.
Do it.
I just want
finish it.
I just want to say this. I was told Thriller was cut from a copy of the master tape, and I assume that Bernie made the copy and sent it to them or gave it to them, but that was not clarified. But I was told it was going to be cut from an analog tape. If that turns out to be true, and hopefully Mobile Fidelity will explain all of this in their video, then I hope that the people that are now saying all this other stuff will come clean and apologize to a corporate entity, to whatever, to Jim Davis, to whatever, and apologize to their readers more than anybody for misinforming them and muddying the waters. If it turns out that it was not cut from an analog tape, then I don't think I have anything to apologize for, because I'm not surmising anything. I'm just telling you what I heard direct from the horse's mouth. Then I will publicize the fact that it was cut from DSD, if it was, because I don't play any favorites. And if it is, if this whole story about being cut from digital turns out to not be true, I hope that the people who are spreading this in public will do a video, because they do a lot of videos. Will come clean and admit that they were wrong, and going forward will only publish first source, direct source,
right?
First source. That's the first rule of journalism. Never hearsay. Never. I heard from someone. Who was it you heard it from? I don't know. I heard it from someone who spoke to someone who knows. You don't publicize that kind of stuff, even if it later turns out to be true. Okay, you've gotten away with it that time, but it's not good practice to do that.
So it's going to be called 6 degrees of Michael Fremer now, not 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, who worked on a movie that I was involved with. So I have a degree of connection to Kevin Bacon. So there you have
So
it.
Anyone that does anything, we need it to be first degree of Michael Fremer in order to be sourced. So I mean, you got to get it from the horse's mouth.
Talk to the real person, and if you can't get to the real person, don't repeat it in public.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you got the source, great. But I mean, if the person doesn't want it to be repeated, you can't do that either. But I mean, yeah, it's all hearsay. I'm waiting to see what MoFi has to say. If it's DSD, great. It sounds great. If it's tape, great. I mean, we'll see in the coming weeks, I think, right?
That's right. What really counts is, does it sound great? That's what really counts.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all. And if you like something I don't like, it's funny because I have this turntable. It's a direct drive turntable. That's what I own now, a direct drive turntable, which shocks a lot of people because they think, oh, I thought you were a belt drive guy. I love this direct drive turntable. And I had the Air Force Zero here, which is a $500,000 turntable. And it's really good. And anybody out there who says it can't make a difference, they haven't heard it, and they'd want to hear something like this, even though it's crazy expensive and it's huge. So I made some recordings from it and the direct drive turntable, and I sent them to Bob Ludwig, who was a friend of mine. I have a lot of friends in this business. And Bob liked the belt drive turntable better. He thought it sounded more like tape. And who am I to argue with Bob Ludwig? Me to argue with Bob Ludwig. I like the other thing better. So that's what I have. I have this direct drive turntable. I think it does certain things better. It may not do everything better, but it's what I prefer. Yep. So in the end, it's what you prefer. And that goes for records or SACDs or CDs or an original pressing versus a reissue or whatever. It's whatever you like.
Well, and the thing is, when I spoke to Bernie Grenman, he basically told me this. He says, just, you got to believe in your ears. That's it, right? That's going to be the big thing.
That's right. That's right. And that's when people say, you know, if you don't do a double blind test, you're talking through your ass, you know. And I say, when these guys are mixing these records that you love, they're mixing them. They're sitting there and they've got the faders and they're putting the faders up and putting the faders down and settling on a mix. They're not doing a double blind test for every time they move a goddamn fader. They're not saying, oh, you can't believe in what you're doing when you move that fader unless you do a double blind test. No, they're using their brains, their experience, and doing what they think sounds best, and then they settle on it, and boom, and they're done. And that's what you have to do when you listen to music. You have to go by what you like and what your brain tells you. Of course, if you're doing a comparison, you have to equalize levels. You have
it's absolutely yeah. Well, Michael, thank you so much. Trackingangle.com, Tracking Angle YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Right. Do you want to do this again? Or you want to do this again? Or are you going to? We're going to do a one-off. I think we can. I think we can do like like a little comedy sketch thing, like a little improvisation thing. You and I don't know, old versus the new. I don't know. What do you think?
Listen, I think after the Mobile Fidelity video runs.
Okay.
We should do another video.
Okay. Well, then I'm holding you to it. That's what we're going to do. So in a couple of weeks from now, and we're going to do it. Okay. Okay.
I think that makes the most sense. And then you know that when that happens and you find out what really is going on, and then you watch how the people that are involved in trading stories online react, then you learn a lot about people's characters, because you get to learn one or two things. If they were correct in these rumors, then they were lucky, and what they should do is say, yes, I was correct, I went out on a limb, but I was correct, and that's it. But if they go, oh, I was correct, and they were not interested in that, and if it turns out that it is all from tape, whether it's a copy of the tape or the first generation tape, you know, I'm happy to get reissues from Universal Music where the original tape was burned in a fire, but a copy of the tape was sent, you know, to Europe or something, you know, 40 years ago. I'm happy to have those all analog.
Well, I learned that Steely Dan's catalog safe, so that didn't get flamed out in the Universal fire, so that's positive news.
Yeah, and the Buddy Holly catalog, there were a lot of mistakes in the New York Times. And
I know that was a terrible article. It was like 12 years ago now. It wasn't good at all.
And all my conservative friends say, the New York Times, why do you believe that leftist publication?
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
We'll talk again.
If I survive this,
I hope you do. We'll see you again.
Okay.
Bye.